This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
The following program is rated MALSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Well. It surely does not matter who the host is. Today, ladies and gentlemen, is Tuesday, April the 14th of 2020, day 105 of the year, and only 261 days left before it's all over with. Anyways, you are listening to the Rated R Safety Show. We are streaming live currently on some different platforms, so you might be taking a listen to us on some of the different social medias that we have available. You also might be taking a listen to us, depending on where you're at, of course, on, let's see, safetyfm.com, safetyfm.live, the different streaming apps. You might even be taking a listen to us directly on our streamer of safetyfm.tv. Yeah, you're going to notice some different things on the screen if you're listening to us or watching us on the streamer, because we're still trying to get some of the camera shit fixed, because we had some problems with that, as you are aware, last week. So we'll hopefully get that corrected as we move forward. So let's take a look at how that goes. Anyways, over the last few days, we've been getting you started with feature story news, so we shouldn't do it any different today than any other day. So let's get you started right there.
Bringing you information you never knew you cared about. Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. India's extending its nationwide lockdown for another 19 days. It began 21 days ago when the country recorded a spike in coronavirus cases. Ishan Garg reports from New Delhi.
While the lockdown has been extended till May 3rd, the government says it will lift restrictions on certain activities from 20th April conditionally. Public life in India will still be disrupted, but between 20th April and 3rd May, some commercial establishments like arms factories and auto manufacturing plants may continue, although under reduced capacity. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says he is doing this keeping in mind India's poor and daily wage earners who've suffered the most financially due to the lockdown. Ishan Garg, New Delhi.
President Trump's defended his response to the coronavirus outbreak. He's also claimed he has total authority over states about when they reopen their economies. Jagruti Dave reports from Washington.
It was at times an acrimonious briefing. President Trump played out what many commentators have described as a campaign-style video defending his response to the coronavirus outbreak in the United States. When asked how he would pressure state governors to reopen the economy, Mr. Trump said the president's authority was total.
You have a couple of bands of Democrat governors, but they will agree to it. But the authority of the President of the United States having to do with the subject we're talking about is total.
He also then later on said that it was up to him whether he used that power or not, and that he would rather states make the decision.
UNICEF says tens of millions of children worldwide may not be vaccinated on time for measles because of the coronavirus outbreak. It says there's a risk of a second pandemic of infectious diseases. France has extended its lockdown for another month until May the 11th as that country continues to deal with a growing number of fatalities from the coronavirus pandemic. President Emmanuel Macron made the announcement in an address to the nation. Ross Cullen reports.
It was the news that the French public knew was coming, an extension to the lockdown period with the confinement measures remaining in force here until at least the 11th of May. President Macron was making his fourth address to the nation since the outbreak began here, and he admitted some failings and said the government could have acted more swiftly in dealing with the crisis. The French leader also saying that the aim of the government was to have the ability to test every person displaying possible symptoms of COVID-19 by mid-May. He also said that some schools will be able to reopen after May the 11th, but only elementary and secondary institutions. Universities will remain closed. Ross Cullen, Paris.
UK scientists are meeting to look at the effects of the country's coronavirus lockdown. The government says it needs to ensure the outbreak's peak has passed before it considers easing lockdown measures. But discussions are underway about how restrictions might be removed once that point is reached. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
You are listening to a radio god. What? This has to be an error. That host is not a radio god. Anyways, this is the Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Oh, yeah, Rated R Safety Show, Safety FM, as you know, are ready, ladies and gentlemen. So we are actually doing this today as we cover some of the information. Now, I have to tell you, I have to bring up a couple of things before we get into it. Now, of course, hold on before I do get it too deep. Hang on just a second.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
So before I go in too deep here, I have to kind of tell you a couple different things. Number one, if you were one of the contest entries for the 10 ad giveaway, we did email the people out this morning. So if you have not checked, give it a check to your little email sequence to see if you were actually one of the winners. We are requiring or requesting some people to turn the information in, and it's all on the email, so take a listen or take a read when you do get a chance. The other thing, before I forget, I thought it was hilarious yesterday if you were on the video streaming channel. I did some things. I made some faces. I played some videos, and some people were offended. Like offended. And some people were even offended about me showing my tattoos. Oh my God, my tattoos were so offensive to some. So if you're looking at me again today on the video streaming channel, I think you're number one. Just want you to know that. Anywho, before I get too further into the news, let's get you rolling and going and talk about the hit list.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
Anyways, I always love to talk about the different things that are going on in the news cycle, but we have been flooded by the coronavirus, as you fully are aware. But I also want to tell you, I do love receiving news stories from the listeners. I think it's great. I think it's great when people take the time to send the information in. Now, I have to tell you, I will take a look around and see if it is a vetted news story or if we can vet it in time. So normally, if you send me any kind of news story right before our news section show, whatever is going to start, probably not going to read it unless I have enough time to be able to vet it, just for information purposes. The other side is, too, don't forget, you still have the opportunity to come on and rant. I always think that that's such a cool thing to be able to do. So, if you want to have the opportunity of coming on and rant, come to safetyfm.com and go on to our little bot thing right there. And we'll go ahead and put the information in, and we'll be able to move forward from there. Anyways, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says that the worst is over in New York, but only mitigation efforts continue. The death toll dropped prospectively on Saturday to Sunday from 758 to 671. Total deaths in New York have been surpassed by 10,000, representing more than a third of all deaths in the United States. The announcement is also included into the news to the news of a task force that could include neighboring Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Rhode Island, all working together on how to strategically reopen the economies. So what do you think when you start hearing these different stories about them planning to open the economy? Some of them are actually even dating as early as May the 1st, so we are talking roughly about 16 days or so. Or do you think that this is a good idea, bad idea? I mean, take a look at all the thing. I'm talking about from the scenario of, we're looking here from the standpoint of, you have the virus still out there, you still have the economic effect that it's actually having on some people out there. So is this a good plan, bad plan, not sure plan? I don't know. I keep on looking at it and I go, what's going to make the most logical sense as we move forward? Also, before I forget, for some reason, you guessed it, Facebook's still not working, but my whole chat system is down today. Don't ask me why. It just is. So just so you know, if you're chatting away, I can't see it. So say all the bad things you want to say right now. Get it out of your system. It might be better that way. We know that.
Duh.
Anyways, the forest fire first reported last week near Chernobyl has not yet been contained. Much of the trees, grass, and dirt are still highly radioactive, and the smoke from the fires could easily blow across Europe. Authorities fear that the fire spreading into exclusion zones where abandoned vehicles and machinery sit untouched and could pose explosion hazards. So what do you think there? Have you been keeping up on this? I mean, I know there's quite a few things going on, so I wouldn't blame you if you haven't. But what the hell are they going to do, man? That's like a shitload of stuff that was just dropped and left. So I continue to look at it, and I go, what's going to happen next? Are we going to have something big come out of that section? So that's something to think about as we move forward.
Listen to our host
Of the Rated R Safety Show.
self-implode on our airwaves, only on Safety FM.
So the Dow slipped a relative modest 328 points on Monday. The slide is likely as a result of the anticipated decrease in earning reports across the economy. So are you tracking all of this stuff? What are you taking a look at? Are you going in there and saying, okay, cool, we're taking a look all across the board? Are you looking at your 401k? Are you looking at your stock portfolio? Do you even have those things? If you don't, that makes sense. That's perfectly fine as well. But what are you doing right now? I know there's a lot of people freaking out saying, oh shit, I don't know what to do next. I don't know what to do. Should I pull? Should I spend? I don't know. Some people have decided not to actually pay their mortgages. That's some other aspects of things that are going on out there as well. What have you decided to do? What has been your best choice scenario at this particular moment? How's your job going? Do you have a job? Have you been furloughed? Have you been laid off? I know all bad news related stuff, but stuff to talk about just to really see what's going on. Anyways, let's continue. On the cusp of declaring the Ebola epidemic over in Congo, 2 new patients have died from the aggressive fever. An epidemic was declared on August 2018. So far, 2,275 people have died. According to WHO or WHO guidelines, an Ebola outbreak is declared over after 52 days of no cases, the same as twice the Ebola incubation period. So what are you thinking? Have you been keeping up with that one? Or has everything else been kind of a little bit too busy to know exactly what's going on? Because I have to tell you, this is news to me as I was going through it this morning and getting all the information out there, of course. Anyways, have you heard about eBay? Yeah, eBay, that place. You know, the auction site, you know, where you buy stuff. Or you kind of do the auction for stuff. Well, let me tell you about it real quick. eBay has a new CEO, Jamie Inonen, I think is what it is. He actually comes from Walmart, where he was the chief operating officer for its e-commerce efforts. He was previously an executive at eBay before the long stints at Barnes & Noble. So, he'll take over effective April the 27th as the new CEO of eBay. Now, do you still use eBay? Is that still something that's relatively popular? I mean, I use it from time to time, but I normally do it for an artist that I like. He has a pretty big eBay store on there, but that's the only time that I really kind of go out and hang out on eBay. Which that brings up a whole other whirl of questions. eBay tends to sell a lot of stuff that is gently used. Well, we'll word it that way. How are you going to feel about this when things start changing that you can buy other people's stuff? Are you going to be cool with buying other people's stuff that's already been touched, used, whatever? I mean, I know that for right now, or before all this, it seemed to be okay, but how paranoid are you going to be if you do that? And I'm not trying to cause fear. I'm just asking a question. Just kind of curious.
Duh.
Something to take a look at as we do move forward, of course.
This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of the toilet flush. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
So did you hear about this one? The Mexican government was slow to come around to the coronavirus mitigation efforts, but as crackdown started, it isn't doing much to protect business who hurt by the economic turndown. Yeah, you're going to find this one interesting. So business chambers in several Mexican states are refusing to provide tax payments unless they're given some relief. The only business relief projects that there is, you ready for this, is a funding of $2 million $1,000 loans to small businesses. So let's go through that again. 2 million loans for $1,000 for small businesses. That's the relief. As of Sunday, there were 130,500 jobs lost in Mexico, reference for the month of March. $1,000. How far is that going to get you? I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out the conversion to pesos. How is that going to work? Because that's something to think about. If you're there, $1,000 is all what they're offering you. What are you going to be able to do with that?
Rated R Safety Show. Sarcastic? Never.
I don't know why the reference of being sarcastic. I don't feel like I am. I feel like I just share the information as I get it. I don't know. Was that sarcastic? How would you feel about getting $1,000? I mean, $1,000 is great. By the way, before I forget, stimulus checks supposedly are starting to arrive, or direct deposits are starting to arrive. Have you already sustained yours? Have you already looked at your account to see if it's actually there? Some people I spoke to yesterday referenced that they already had it. I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent. Some people said that they already had it and spent it. Some person that I was talking to said that they needed to be careful that they didn't spend it on car parts. I don't know if the car was the important aspect of what they had going on. Just a reference piece, of course. I don't know what you're going to be spending your check on. If you do get it, of course, something to think about. As reported in the Journal of Nature, details that astronomers believe that the brightest supernova ever observed. Here we go. It was first spotted in 2016 and emitted radiation for 1,000 days. It is believed to have 5 to 10 times more massive than the typical supernova explosion and can be as much as 100 times more the massive than the sun. So a supernova, Power Man 5000 is what come to mind right away. Of course, that's a band. That's a song, so not too confusing there, hopefully.
Duh.
Anyways, what the hell do you have going on? How are you liking this work from home thing? I keep on looking at it and I go, I don't know. It seems like it's okay for some, but some other people are saying that is not the greatest scenario going on. And I take a look at it and I go, are you an essential worker? That reminds me, essential workers, welcome to the glorious state of Florida. Do you know what the governor here has actually named an essential work? Pro wrestlers. Yeah, you know, that scripted stuff. I mean, they are real athletes. Let's not say that they're not, because they truly are. But scripted wrestling has now become essential work in the state of Florida. Now, I will tell you off the top of my head, I can think of 3 wrestling organizations that are here. One in Orlando that's called the WWE. Another one in Orlando known as Impact Wrestling. And then I think that there's one out of Jacksonville. I think it's Jacksonville. I know that it's here in Florida, called All Elite Wrestling, which is AEW. So I wonder how that became essential work. Now, there is also a reference of essential media. So take a look at it as you want, because I'm not sure which one's which and what exactly it does mean. So as you hear that, what comes to mind? What do you think of right away, and what do you say that should be done? Do you think that that makes sense? Is it logical to consider it essential work? I will tell you, I have some friends that do some different items that are considered essential work. Now, I will say, construction I can understand, but lock manufacturing? Essential work? Boat creation? Essential work? I mean, at this point, I feel like there's not much to look at the guideline as essential work. You know, I'm confused by the church thing. Yes, I believe that churches are essential to communities. But having people meet together currently when they're trying to do social distancing, how does that church layout look? How does the whole swing of everything go? Have you taken a look and considered going to church if you are a churchgoer? And you're probably going there, what the fuck's wrong with you, Jay? You talk about all kinds of weird stuff, and now you're talking about church on the Rated R Safety Show? Yeah, I'm talking about it.
Duh.
I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. Are you going to church? Are you looking at it and saying, hey, this makes sense for me to do at the time being? I don't know what people are doing. I stay locked up all the time. Studio time apart, of course. Anyway, let's continue. The federal government has recorded a record tax revenue for the first half of the fiscal year, which ended on March 31st. Fiscal year, March 31st. Anyways, collecting more than $236 billion. Yeah, that's billion with a B. Over the same period, spending was also the second highest in history. January through March collection were also higher than any other 3 previous years. So, something to think about as you are hearing this.
You are listening.
We are now video streaming the Rated R Safety Show. I don't know why our host has a face for radio. Rated R Safety Show.
I love when I fat finger it and I play 2 ads exactly at the same time. Promo, sponsors, whatever the hell you want to call it. Anyways, let's continue. The bear population at Yosemite National Parks, you ready for this? Has quadrupled.
Duh.
Yeah, quadrupled.
Duh.
Yeah, quadrupled.
Duh.
Quadrupled. Yes, you heard me correctly in the recent weeks. This is according to the LA Times reports. The park has been closed since March the 20th, and a minimal staff between 100 and 200 employees are still in the area. But they have quadrupled, so I don't know what the hell's going on. If they're popping up, bears are getting it on more, but that just seems like a quick turnaround. Unless they're just making their appearance all of a sudden. I don't know. Something to think about as we move forward. Did you hear about this one? Twice presidential candidate and socialist Bernie Sanders has endorsed Joe Biden. The news came during a live stream on Monday and less than a week after formally ending his efforts for the nomination. To help gather support of the most aggressive wing of the Democratic Party, Biden announced the task force on healthcare, education, economy, climate change, criminal justice, and immigration, as reported by Axios. Yeah, you heard me correctly there. That's what happens when you start taking a look at all these crazy things as we do them going forward.
Listen to our host
Of the Rated R Safety Show.
self-implode on our airwaves, only on Safety FM.
So anyways, I've been taking a look around there. I've noticed that there's a lot of new safety podcasts that are starting. It's so exciting to take a listen, to take some of the different aspects that are out there, listening to all these shows and all of the people that are turning around and saying, I decided to come up with a safety podcast because I had nothing better to do. My time was free. There was nothing going on. So it was time to start producing a safety podcast. I was locked up in quarantine, and the podcast was the thing that allured to me. And I needed to move forward and become a podcaster now because I desired to do so. It's also interesting taking a listen to some of the podcasts that are out there, playing music beds in their background as they're playing. Trying to entice people with the music because they didn't think that what they were saying was so important. To make sure that they didn't lose them as they were moving forward with their new safety podcast. I find it interesting on how this market, hold on before I forget, that's not competitive. I did air quotes just in case you're watching, if you're listening on the radio. That's not competitive on how we have to move forward and do some of these things that some other podcasters have been doing for a long period of time. So I have to tell you, if the podcast thing was so important and you wanted to get your messaging out there, why did you wait for something so catastrophic to occur to all of a sudden start sending out your messaging? There has been people that are out there, and I'll tell you, there's people that have been inside of this space way before I ever got here that have been doing this for years. Week in, week out, multiple episodes, single episodes, devoting their time and sharing their messaging. And I'm not saying, hey, this is their space, don't come in here. But man, all of a sudden, because you're bored, you think that people should jump over there and start listening to what you got going on. I don't know. I kind of look at it and I feel kind of very strange about it. I think it's good that some more podcasters are coming out of it because there's about 4,000 podcasts that start a week, but you've heard me say that shit before. But I look at it and I go, what's the purpose now? Do you think that more people are listening to podcasts now? Because let me explain something to you. And this is me coming from the fucking radio business. The way that it works in radio is that you keep people on. You try to do it in a quarter-hour sweep. So from the time clock, if you take a look at it, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45, 60, You want to bring them over in that sweep. But as you look at it and you go, most people listen to the radio, if they're listening to the radio, in the car. Most people that listen to podcasts in the car. How do you think they're finding these new shows? Are you promoting it enough to do so? Because that's the other portion that people forget. They are under the impression that they're going to say, I'm going to record this today, and everyone's going to find me. I saw some jackass post today that he already has thousands of listeners to his podcast that just started. Now, unless you're doing something questionable on how you're doing it, there's no way I'm going to buy that. Thousands of listeners. On your first one, very few people are able to pull that off. And then the other thing is that there's always podcast ratings as well, too. So if you go to Apple Podcasts, which is the most popular platform out there, just in case, not Anchor. That's the other portion. If you go there and you take a look, the most popular podcasts rank on Apple Podcast. You can be within the top 200 of your category, or you can be within the top 200 of all. The goal, of course, is always being in the higher ones. Some people are going to be like, no, that's not the goal. The goal is the content. The goal is the content. Well, yeah, it's the content, but you also want to be ranked, because let me tell you some stupid shit here. If I'm on Yelp, and I'm going to go to a restaurant, and I'm going to Spanish Restaurant 1 or Spanish Restaurant 2, and I pull it up on Yelp, and Spanish Restaurant 2 has better ratings than Spanish Restaurant 1, guess which one I'm going to go to? So this is why you want to rank in the podcast universe. Yeah. Think about that for a moment. I don't care. It's not competitive. Bullshit. You're doing it because you want somebody to hear you. You want somebody to pay attention. Well, if I'm only able to impact one person, that is all I am trying to accomplish. Bitch, please. Why are you lying? You're doing it for a couple of different reasons. Either you want to make money off the podcast, or you're doing it for marketing purposes of other services. Just the way that it works. Well, I do it for my entertainment value of what I can bring to the different people that are... Oh, hold on. Why am I doing this? For the different people that are out there that care on what I have to say. Nobody gives a shit what you have to say. Now I bring a different perspective to the people, and they will care what I have to say. I will do it so much differently than everyone else has ever done it. No, you won't. Now, the most innovative broadcast that I have ever heard, and until this day, it has always remained the same, is Howard Stern. And unless you're going back in time and changing something, sorry, you're not going to do something different. Got bad news for you, brother. You're not going to do anything that is that much different out there. Now, there might be some different things that you can do. Because like right now, we're doing this in this format where you're seeing a video and you're also hearing a audio content. Guess where I saw that first? Howard Stern show on E-News, on the channel E. That was years ago. I think that was like late 90s, early 2000s. And the people that are hanging out at home right now that are playing catch up with all these other podcasters, whatever you want to call them, that's what they're doing. They're playing catch up with the king. Yeah, the king of all media. Yeah, we might do a safety show. We might have a safety broadcast. We might have a safety network. But a lot of the stuff that has been done, there's some names that you can thank. And he needs to be one of the top ones that you think. So you're not going to do anything that's out of the ordinary. You're not going to do anything that's different. You might have some ideas, But a lot of the ideas, unless you're doing something magical, like traveling in time, you're probably not going to do anything different. Sorry. Just wanted to share that with you. Anyways, let's go into the lottery real quick. No winner for Friday night's Mega Million drawing. Tonight's drawing will be for a $145 million jackpot or a $115.2 million cash payout. No winner for Saturday night's Powerball drawing. Wednesday's drawing will be for $22 million jackpot or $17.7 million cash payout. Hey, I'll take either one. I'm happy there. Won't bother me either way. By the way, I thought it was kind of funny. Somebody contacted me and they wanted to pitch me an idea of this great safety podcast that they had and this great thing that they were going to do on how they were going to have naked people on their safety show. Safety show. Naked people. Now, if you're doing something in the porn industry and that's how you're going to go about doing it, okay, that might work. Here, ain't going to work. Ain't going to work. You're not going to have a standard show, have some big corporate sponsor that might have a lot of letters in their organization and say, hey, I'm going to have some naked people on the show. Can you sponsor me? Just not going to happen. Well, sponsorships don't matter. Yeah, it does. You're doing it either for marketing or you're doing it for sponsorships, one or the other. Anyways, let's talk about the days of the years that you can celebrate today. Here we go. National Dolphin Day. National Ex-Spouse Day. Interesting one to celebrate. National Gardening Day. National Pan American Day. National Pecan Day. National Research as High as You Can Day. Hold on. Let's take a look at that one. National Research as High as You Can Day. What exactly am I researching there? Look up at the sky day is the last but not least one. Anyway, something to think about, some different things you can do. Yeah, a little bit ranting about stupid podcasting today. Yeah, I know. Kind of bitter when it comes to some of that stuff because I get so frustrated with the bullshit that I hear from people of, well, that's not what I'm trying to do. Yeah, you are. You're trying to do some of that stuff. You're trying to just to tie it into other things. Anyways, I got some news stories that came in the overnight. Just wanted to let you know. And the news stories that I did receive, I have not been able to vet them, but they were very, very interesting information. So I do want to share that with you. But I was not able to vet them. So if you do get a chance or an opportunity and you're a little bit bored today, I want you to take a look and go around and look up something called outoftheshadows.org. I didn't vet the story. I don't have enough information to say yay, nay, or indifferent, but outoftheshadows.org. Take a look at it if you want to. Tell me what you think if you get a chance to take a look at it. I'm intrigued on what you have to say. And I did stay up kind of late watching it. Anyways, you've been listening to the Rated R Safety Show. I know who you are. You know who I am. And I'm going to go. And which way should I go today? I don't know. Let's hang out on the radio station after this. Anyways, you've been listening to the Rated R Safety Show. You know who I am. I know who you are. Love you. Mean it. Bye.
Duh.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.